Hello, duelists, Hexlex here with the news. This is This Week in Master Duel, and a lot has happened this week in Master Duel. I'm going to waste no time and pop over to the notifications here, where we have already discussed this a little bit in the initial kind of reaction video, but biggest news to come from this week is the Forbidden Limited List update that we can expect to see applying here at the start of Season 21. Again, I did already do a video covering this information, so I'm just going to briefly go over this. We're also going to actually later in the video be taking a look at the first results from the first tournament that's been held post-banlist. So we'll definitely go ahead and see what the new metagame is starting to look like here moving forward. But for those who did not catch the last video, again, we're just going to go over this very briefly. We have number 86 Heroic Champion Rongo Minad, Phantasmal Lord Ultimile Bishbalkin, and Block Dragon, three of the most honestly complained about cards in Master Duel, with good reason, all getting hit there, as well as Agita the Ancient Sentinel and Tier Limits Merly from Tier Limits also getting banned. Those cards will be at 0. Tier Limits Merly, I think, is a very good and interesting hit. I'm going to be talking about that a little bit more. I don't think in this video, but I'm planning on doing a tier list video for what I think the next metagame is going to shape up to look like after the ban list. We'll be doing that in a few days, and we'll talk about it a little bit more there. But suffice it to say, Tier Limits taking a pretty huge hit with this ban list here, and then we also have, again, a lot of strategies that a lot of people were not too thrilled about going up against, also getting hit there. As far as cards getting limited, we have some more impactful hits with Brain Diffusion, That Grass Looks Greener, Kelbeck the Ancient Vanguard, Sprite Jet, and Swap Frog. Kelbeck, once again, is going to be a tier limit hit. Brain Diffusion, obviously going to be a branded hit. Grass going to 1, makes 60 card decks that rely on it, or rather use it, a little bit less consistent. And then Sprites take a hit, particularly the Pure variant with Swap Frog going to 1. That's a huge hit to the Pure Sprite variant. Jet going to 1 is definitely a little bit, annoying for Sprite users, myself included. But there are quite a few variants of Sprite that will definitely still be viable post-ban list there. As far as what is getting semi-limited, Blaster, Dragon Rule of Infernos, Pot of Extravagance, and Lustre Pendulum, the Draco Slayer, and then cards to be unlimited, Nadir Servant, Ancient Fairy Dragon, and Girsu, the Orcus Mech Knight. So, again, just a brief rundown of what is on that ban list there. And like I said, here in a little bit, we're going to be taking a look at the first tournament that's been held with these bans in effect. Of course, in client, we can't actually play 2 Blaster, 2 Lustre Pendulum, or 3 of any of these yet. But to be fair, these are definitely some of the least impactful changes on this list. Obviously, Orcus do really like getting the extra Girsu back, and all the other decks that play these cards, so on and so forth. But I definitely think that the limitations / bans are going to be what more defines what the meta is going to look like moving forward here. Another cool little thing that I noticed as I logged in here is that there are now deck recipes available for the World Championship Qualifiers deck. So if you want to pop on over to the website there and take a look at those, that's pretty cool. I think it's kind of a given, right? I would expect that, when Konami hosts a tournament, they would share the top deck list, but that's not always the case. I don't know if that's even currently the case for YCSs, if they actually share those on the Konami website. I know they used to at some point, but in any case, cool stuff if you want to check out what did well in the WCS 2023 there. Otherwise, there's not a whole lot going on in client. There's some additional missions for the Light and Dark event, another 200 gems if you're interested in that. So let's go ahead and move off client over to Master Duel meta. Before we talk about that tournament that I've been alluding to, I wanted to first take a look at some of the unofficial leaks that have been announced lately. So let's go ahead and pop over here to leaks and updates. Looks like Decade has been leaking some more stuff. The Photon Galaxy cards, I guess Galaxy Photon cards, we got a few more of those coming in. The Photon Jumper, it's a level 4 Light Warrior with 0 attack and defense. When your opponent's monster declares an attack, you can activate this effect, skip your next battle phase, also special summon this card from your hand, then end this battle phase. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add 1 Photon or Galaxy spell trap from your deck to your hand. You can only use each of these effects once per turn. So the first effect is definitely not what we're here for, right? Immediately you read, when your opponent's monster declares an attack, activate this effect, skip your next battle phase. I've never read a series of words and conditions that make me want to, not use an effect more. But I will say that the other effect is pretty interesting. You don't have to special summon it via its own effect in order to get the ability to add a Photon or Galaxy spell or trap from deck to hand. And that works no matter how it is sent to the graveyard. You could link it off as a material, you could send it directly from the hand or deck to the graveyard as well, and it would still activate. So To be fair, I don't know a whole lot about photons, but I do imagine they will play some amount of Photon Jumper, but definitely not for the first effect there. Galaxy 100 is a continuous spell card coming out for the deck. When this card is activated, you can send a Photon or Galaxy card from your deck to the graveyard. Look at that, we immediately have a way to get the Photon Jumper into the yard. If a Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon is special summoned to your field, except during the damage step, you can look at your opponent's extra deck and apply one of these effects. You can either banish one monster from it, or special summon one number monster from it to your field. You can only use this effect of Galaxy 100 once per turn, and you can only activate one Galaxy 100 per turn. So, wow, yet another archetype that's also getting extra deck banishing, although they will not be doing as nearly as much of it as Kashtira does. Galaxy 100 still, I think, would be a pretty decently impactful support card for the deck. Again, it is immediately a Foolish Burial from the deck, which they immediately do want with the release of Photon Jumper as well. And on top of that, the ability to banish monsters out of your opponent's extra deck is, of course, as we've seen with Kashtira, a very powerful ability. Honestly, also the ability to summon number monsters is not irrelevant. There are a lot of good number monsters out there, so being able to straight up steal one of them to your field, I think will definitely come up a decent bit of the time as well. And as another boss monster, they have the rank 8 number C32 Neo Galaxy Eyes Prime Photon Dragonlord. It takes 3 level 8 monsters, level 8 light monsters that is, but you can also see some of this card by using number 62 Galaxy Eyes Prime Photon Dragon you control as a material, and then you transfer its materials to this card. At the start of your battle phase, you can detach one material from this card. This card can make up to 3 attacks on monsters during this battle phase. If this card has Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon, not number 62, just regular effect Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon. I think that's an important thing to distinguish there. If it has Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon as a material, it gains the following effects. This card is unaffected by your opponent's monster effects, and it gains attack equal to the combined levels and ranks of its attached materials times 100. It has a baseline of 4,000 attack, 3,000 defense. So this thing seems pretty clearly to be an OTK engine. It is really good at battling a bunch of monsters as it gets really big before doing so, and even protects itself from any monster effects that might try to hinder it there. I don't know how badly Galaxy Eyes needs another big rank 8 finisher. I kind of imagine they probably don't, considering they have like literally a dozen of them at this point, but it's not a bad one, I guess, to be fair. Again, I do think it's interesting that you can kind of cheat it into play with number 62 Prime Photon Dragon, but there is the important distinguishing factor that it does not gain its additional effects unless it has regular Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon as a material. So overall, I think these are interesting support cards, but they really don't address, I think, what Galaxy Eyes needs to be a competitive deck, which is more consistency. The deck has a lot of powerful effects and extremely powerful monsters. I think it just needs a bit more of an easier time either getting them out or gaining some advantage along the way. And these cards, while cool, don't necessarily provide that in my opinion. Not that I think they're bad, of course they are going to be welcome additions to the Galaxy Eyes deck. I just don't know how much better the Galaxy Eyes deck gets as a result. So there is those, and then we have the Mikonko, sorry, is going to be one of the other archetypes that got leaked here. This is going to be one of the archetypes that's in Amazing Defenders, along with Rescue, Ace, and Pearly. Now, I don't see Pearlies on this Master Duel meta page, I just wanted to talk about this real quick, but I did see some posts on Reddit kind of implying that maybe Pearlies were going to be coming out in the next set. That would not surprise me at all, as given what's currently been leaked so far, there doesn't really seem much incentive to like buy into this pack. We'll talk about Mikonkos here in a bit, but spoiler alert, I'm not particularly certain how good of a deck they are. I don't think they're bad, but I just don't think they're that great, honestly. And the Pearlies, on the other hand, will definitely be a nice, and at some point, if they don't get all of their support now, they will definitely be a competitive contender in the near future. So I would expect that, you know, with the selection pack, they want to throw in at least one archetype to incentivize the competitive players to buy it, and I imagine this time around, Pearly is going to be that archetype. I would not be surprised if that's the case, but I didn't see it here on the actual page. But in any case, let's talk about the Mikonko archetype. They have a ritual monster here, level 6 light fairy with 0 attack and defense. You can ritual summon with Mikonko Kagura, which is, I believe, is that actually one of the monsters or one of the spells? Huh, I don't actually see it here among the cards. It must not be interesting. Okay. But I imagine it's a ritual spell, if you're going to ritual summon. Although, to be fair, there are some cards that can be ritual summoned by, like, take a look at Megalith, for example. Like, ritual summon them off of monster effects. But I just didn't see, Mikonko, Kagura. I do not see here. Okay, in any case. Cannot be destroyed by battle. Also, your opponent takes any battle damage you would take from battles involving this card instead. You can only use each of the following effects of Mikonko of the Ohime once per turn. You can reveal this card in your hand, add one Mikonko card from your deck to your hand, except Ohime, the manifested Mikonko. Then discard one card. As a quick effect, you can target an equipped spell in your graveyard, equip it to an appropriate monster on the field. So this definitely summarizes what this archetype is all about in one card here. They are kind of based on equip spells. They all have abilities to like equip stuff to monsters on your field. They also kind of have a theme around having 0 attack and defense, but not being able to be destroyed, and then bouncing any battle damage you would take back to your opponent. So it's kind of like Yubel, the whole archetype, except Yubel is getting an archetype, but that's not going to be for a long time. Don't worry about that. In any case, this definitely seems like a pretty good card for the archetype. I mean, the ability to just reveal it, add a card, and then discard a card is already pretty good. So I imagine, regardless of how good this is as a ritual monster that you actually want to summon, you definitely play 3 of this card for its search ability, regardless. We have Hare, the Sword Mikonko, is a level 3 fire warrior with 0 attack and defense. If this card is not equipped with any equipped card, you take no battle damage from battles involving it. If it is, it cannot be destroyed by battle, and your opponent takes any battle damage you would take from battles involving it instead. If this card becomes equipped with an equipped card, you can add a Mikonko equipped spell card from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect of Hare, the Sword, and Mikonko once per turn. So that first part of the effect is going to be a recurring theme in the main deck monsters. You don't take any battle damage from them, but if they're equipped with the card, again, like the ritual monster, they're not destroyed, and then they bounce the battle damage back to your opponent as effect damage. This one, pretty simple, just adds more equipped spells whenever it gets equipped. Seems like a pretty natural fit for the archetype. Huli, the Duel Mikonko, is a level 3 Psychic with 0 attack and defense. Wind Psychic. If this card is not equipped with an equipped card, I should note that these do not say equip spell, they say equip card, so any monster or trap card that treats itself as an equipped card would work with these as well. But if this card is not equipped with an equipped card, you take no battle damage from battles involving this card. If this card is equipped with an equipped card, it cannot be destroyed by battle, and your opponent takes any battle damage you would have taken from battles involving this card. While you control an equipped card, your opponent cannot target Mikonko cards you control with card effects. If either player equips an equipped card to this card, you can add a Mikonko trap from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect once per turn. So, another searcher, this one for trap cards, and also gives you some destruction protection as well, or target protection, sorry. Now we have Nini, the Mira Mikonko. Nai? Nini? I think it's Nini. I don't imagine it's Nai. Anyway, maybe it is. I have no idea. I legit have no idea. Anyway, level 3 Water Spellcaster, 0 attack and defense. If this card is not equipped with any equipped card, you take no battle damage from battles involving it. If it is, it cannot be destroyed by battle. Also, your opponent takes any battle damage you would take from battles involving it instead. During your opponent's turn, while this card is equipped with an equipped card, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls, take control of it until the end phase. You can only use one effect of Nini/Nai, the Mira Mikonko, once per turn. So this, to me, seems to be like the huge incentive to actually play this archetype. It is a bit of a going second tool, because of course it does require that your opponent has cards on the field. But, wow, it's a quick effect, so that actually totally nullifies what I just said. I didn't even think about that until just now. Wow, you can't just do it on your opponent's turn. That's more disruption. Like, to be fair, you won't really be able to battle or use it as a material during your opponent's turn, but it still just takes a card from their field, which obviously is one fewer resource for them to win with, but then they also have to push through their own resource often to just, get through to lethal for you. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, this is definitely the most powerful of the Mikonko cards, and I think one of the main reasons you would want to play this archetype is actually this card right here. Alright, let's take a look at a few of their spells, particularly some of the equipped spells. Mikonko Reflection Rondo, equipped to an opponent's monster. Take control of it while you control a Mikonko monster, but it cannot activate its effect while you control it. While this card leaves the field, or when it leaves the field rather, send the equipped card to the graveyard. You can only control one inviting Rondo of the Mikonko. You can only control one inviting. Wait, what? Is that a different card? Or is that just like a mistranslation or something? you can only activate one of these per turn. So again, alongside the Mirror Mikonko, this is definitely, again, one of the major reasons why you'd want to play this archetype, is to take control of your opponent's stuff. Seems pretty neat, and even if you don't take control of it, you can also just make sure that it goes to the graveyard by sending the equipped card to the graveyard while it's attached to the monster there. Mikonko Fire Dance, an equipped spell card that specials a Mikonko monster from your hand or graveyard, and if you do equip it with this card, then you can special summon one monster from your opponent's graveyard to their field, but negate its effects. The equipped monster cannot be destroyed by card effects, you can only activate one per turn. I'm not nearly as up on this card. Like, to be fair, yes, it does not only summon a Mikonko and then immediately equip it, making sure they can get all of its effects, but it gives your opponent a monster from their graveyard too, and it's like, what? Why? What is this, like 2010? Like, why does this card do this? I don't know. Just doesn't seem like that great of a card to do the drawback there. Mikonko Dance, oh my god, Mayo Washidori. I think I said that right. Maybe. Anyway, is an equipped spell card that states the equipped monster cannot be destroyed by card effects. You can only use each of the following effects of this card once per turn. At the end of the damage step, if your Mikonko monster battled, you can target one card on the field, return it to the hand. If this card is in your graveyard, you can target a Mikonko monster in your graveyard, special summon it, and if you do, equip it with this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. So the bounce effect here is nice, but I think the ability to resurrect a Mikonko monster from the graveyard, not only bring one back, but then also immediately equip it, which again will just ensure that it gets effects, is pretty good. This does have to be in the graveyard for you to do that, but I mean, we could just play like Foolish Burial Goods or something. I definitely think this is better than the Fire Dance. And then finally, we'll go over this quick play spell here, the Great Mikonko Ceremony. Special summon a Mikonko monster from your hand, ignoring its summoning conditions, but return to the hand during your opponent's end phase. During your main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard. Send one Mikonko card from your deck to the graveyard, except this card. You can only use each effect of this card once per turn. So you can do both effects during the same turn, which is pretty rad. Foolishing a card directly to the graveyard will get this equipped spell in the grave. It kind of solves that problem. In addition to, of course, just being able to play Foolish Burial Goods. And also, this will allow you to turbo out the ritual monster, just, ignoring summoning conditions, which can be good here too. So, all in all, I think this archetype is okay. I think that the ability to take control of monsters is the real draw to play this archetype, both with the 9/9/Nini, the Mirror Mikonko, and the equipped spell Reflection Rondo there. So, otherwise, I think the archetype's kind of mid, to be totally honest, but yeah, the ability to take control of stuff is very good, especially as a quick effect there. Okay, so now that we have covered some of the leaks there, I want to go ahead and take a look at the Decade Meta Weekly number 76, particularly the top 16 breakdown here. As always, this will be a single elimination tournament where they did a one deck best of 3. There were 110 participants, and notably, this particular tournament utilized the new ban list. So this will be a bit of a sneak peek into what the upcoming meta, what we can expect from it. Some people might be surprised to see Branded Espia doing particularly well here, given that Branded Fusion went to 1. I'm not, because I don't think Branded Fusion going to 1 is actually that much of a, hindrance to the deck. I really don't think it's that different from Branded Fusion being at 2, other than that, sometimes they open it, less often now. That's, I think, really the only difference. A lot of people were saying, oh, now if the Branded Fusion gets, banished or something, it's a lot harder for them to come back, but, I mean, honestly, while Branded Fusion is definitely the deck's power play, I don't think the deck, lives and necessarily dies by how many copies of Branded Fusion there are. Of course, if that number is 0, that definitely changes, but I think the difference between 3 and 1 Branded Fusion is not nearly as great as some people think, or even 2 and 1, but otherwise, it seems like a pretty diverse top 16, which again, kind of to be expected for this meta, not just because of the cards that they hit, in terms of weakening the responding, or appropriate decks rather, but also just the fact that they hit the decks in such a way that it's going to be kind of hard to build decks like Tearlament and Sprite moving forward. I think for at least the initial week or two of this new meta, we're going to see a huge diversity in the number of decks doing well, but let's look at some of these lists here. First place was actually taken by Tri-Brigade Leerlusk, which is pretty rad. Seems like a fairly standard list there. Runic Naturia also did pretty well in this tournament, taking second place, and I believe they have another top 16 spot as well there. We have a Pendulum deck with a little bit of Kashtira support. We saw that doing pretty well recently as well. Here is that other Runic Naturia deck. Here is one of the 3 branded decks here. Again, as you can see, they are in fact on the 1 branded fusion. And yeah, I mean, the deck doesn't really seem too different in how it's built and honestly how it plays. I don't really think that's going to be the case moving forward. Rather, I do think that's going to be the case moving forward as well here. Let's see, this is a branded variant that's, actually, this is definitely more of a Thunder Dragon deck that is displaying some Bestial cards. I saw the Bestials and immediately associated them with branded. No branded stuff happening here, just a little bit of Thunder Dragon. Gotta love it. Runic for Hire Sprite's gonna be one of the other decks we see here that's utilizing the Runic cards. With the Shizu package as a whole being hampered, like there's already only 1 of each shuffler, and now you know, there's 2 less millers, which means that there's going to be even less shufflers in the graveyard. I would definitely expect to see Runic variants start to take a bit of a resurgence here in the metagame. That definitely makes sense to me. Alright, we have another one of the branded Despia lists here. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty standard stuff as far as this goes. Again, I don't think Branded Fusion going to 1 really changes how this deck is built, and honestly how it's played. I just think that if you weren't playing Branded and White before, you do definitely play at least 1 copy now. But arguably, I think Branded and White was probably correct to play even before Branded Fusion went to 1 here. So, again, I think for the most part that these builds are not going to be changing too much here. Oh, this is a cool deck. I saw this one earlier. Yeah, this is a 55, not quite 60, but a 55 card Adventure Scareclaw deck. Pretty cool stuff. I think Scareclaw is a pretty neat archetype. I haven't dabbled fully into it myself, only really splashing it for the Math Mech variant, but yeah, I mean, seems like it did pretty well, and with good reason. I do think it is definitely a pretty good deck there. Here is, I think, just about the only pure sprite variant that we have seen on this top 16 list, utilizing the Hero Kid package. This is actually not a bad piece of tech, and I'm going to be talking about this a little bit more when we do our tier list video, but Pure Sprite is definitely going to have to rethink how it's going to just play in general moving forward. With Swap Frog at 1, the Frog engine is just not good. It's not worth it, period. The thing is, though, we can't just play like Deep Sea Diva, for example, because I think we need another monster that's actually really good to special summon off of Gigantic, in particular, the way that Swap Frog was. And Hero Kid definitely has potential in that regard. When you summon it off of Gigantic, you immediately get 2 more copies from the deck. The only problem I kind of foresee with Hero Kid is just the fact that drawing it feels really bad. So we'll have to see if it does end up being Hero Kid or possibly another level 2 tech that we haven't explored yet. But yeah, we definitely need another monster to special summon off of Gigantic for a Pure Sprite in order to continue to be good moving forward. The Nimble package is still going to be really good, but Nimble Beaver only works when normal summon. Same with Diva, that's why I don't really think Diva is where it's at. But we'll definitely do some experimentation and see what we can come up with there. All right, we have Marinesis doing pretty well here, getting a top 16 finish. Got Dragon Link. I was actually surprised to not see more Dragon Link in this top 16. But at the same time, you know, to be fair, Dragon Link can be a pretty difficult deck to pilot. Looks like this is a 60 card variant that's leaning a little bit more into Dragoondy stuff in particular. But yeah, was kind of surprised. Looks like we also have some Dragon Maid stuff going on, even the extra deck here. I was just surprised to not see more Dragon Link variants here. I think that deck's going to do pretty well in the next meta, but again, we'll talk about that in the tier list video that we're going to do later this week. Here is, in fact, a Tearlament variant. This is going to be Punk Tearlament. Makes a lot of sense to me because Chaos Ruler is a pretty good card to have with the Tearlaments, and the Tearlament package definitely needs some more help as far as just milling goes. The more cards they can get to the graveyard, the more likely they are to hit there. Much fewer fusers, rather. They only have 4 of them as opposed to the 6 they had before in the deck. Labyrinth, again, another deck I was surprised to not see more of moving forward. Didn't really take any hits. I don't really consider Extravagance going to 2 that much of a hit, when 2 Extravagant Prosperity was arguably correct anyway. Given that, you know, you can use Extrav, and while you can't draw any cards for the rest of the turn, you can still excavate them off Prosperity, so on and so forth. So here is another one of those branded variants. Sword Soul is another deck that I think will do pretty well in the upcoming meta, and that's it. Those are going to be the deck lists from this particular post-banlist tournament here. So I think that's going to go ahead and do it for this video. I'm just going to scroll back up to the top so we can see the pie chart breakdown here yet again. Thank you all very much for watching all the way to the end here. Let's just go ahead and move now to our outro. Alright everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the very end of the video like this. That means a whole lot to me. Not just personally, but it's also a great way of supporting the channel as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other means, you can of course feel free to comment and or subscribe right here on YouTube. I'm always looking to the comments section. You guys leave some pretty awesome feedback as far as like constructive criticism goes when it comes to deck building, gameplay, channel content, all that stuff. So feel free to leave your opinion down there. I will be sure to take a look at that there. And then subscribing is going to be the best way to get notifications of when these videos drop. That does happen every day, by the way, so if you're looking for daily Master Duel content, you've come to the right place. And there are more places where you can get some daily Master Duel content. If you check out the description below, follow the top link over to my Patreon page. There for just $5 a month, which is as much as you pay for a booster pack, you'll find a lot more value than a pack full of filler over there. We've got some previews for content upcoming here on the channel. We've got some exclusive games that are only posted over on Patreon over there. We've got some Q&As, and then you can also have your name featured in this lovely credit sequence where I thank all of the people who are helping contribute over there on Patreon. It's a huge support to the channel, and it really means a lot as well. So thank you everyone who is donating that is featured here on screen. And again, you know, it's not just a pure donation, you do get some more daily Master Duel content over there just for being a part of the Patreon. But I think that's about all the time that I have for today's video. Once again, I just want to thank you so very much for sticking all the way to the end of the video. Again, it just means a lot as I do put a decent amount of work into getting these videos out every single day. But that's about all the time that I've got for now. So without further ado, this is XLex. I'm signing out, and I hope you have a fantastic day.